That's my local train, if you heard that. Sorry. I've got the window shut and everything. It's a little steam train at the bottom of the hill. It goes, woo!
Fabulous.
Power to Live More with Jo Dodds.
Welcome to the Power to Live More podcast, all about productivity, organisation, well-being, energy and resilience. I'm Jo Dodds, and I started this show to enable interesting people to share their stories about how they use their power to live more, and by that I mean to do the stuff that they want to do more than the stuff that they need to or should do. It's about creating a life for yourself where you have the energy, health and space to be happy and fulfilled, spending your time as you'd like, whether that be at work, home or somewhere else entirely. That's your choice.
Hello, my name is Ellie Dodds and I'm co-presenter, and today Jo is interviewing Nancy McKay. Nancy was introduced to us by her podcast PR. Nancy McKay is a certified life coach living in Lakewood, Colorado, with her husband Jimmy and her two rescue besties Maggie and Tommy. Nancy's life experiences of growing up in an alcoholic household, being sober for over 10 years herself, and an ovarian cancer survivor gives her a unique perspective of becoming empowered to heal later in life. Nancy has earned her certification as a Wayfinder Life Coach from Martha Beck Inc., as well as a mind-body eating coach from the Institute for the Psychology of Eating. Nancy also spends a great deal of time working with horses, honing her skills, while she's training to become a certified Equus Coach through the Colorado Institute for Equus Coaching. This diverse background and experience in training provides her clients multiple resources for healing and growth. Nancy also serves as Vice President on the Board of Directors for the Colorado Ovarian Cancer Alliance. Back to the studio.
Today I'm interviewing Nancy McKay of Amazing Outlook Coaching. Thanks for joining me, Nancy. Great to speak to you today.
Thank you, Jo. It's great to be here.
So I love your business name, Amazing Outlook Coaching. It's conjuring up all sorts of exciting thoughts about our conversation today. So tell me a bit about what you do and where you do it.
Well, I'm a life coach. I'm in Lakewood, Colorado, which is a small suburb southwest of Denver. And I just love working with women who are going through major transition in their life, and they need some guidance and help getting out on the other side of it.
Lovely. So I'm just going to throw this one in there because I know you must hear this all the time. Whenever you mention Denver, it just reminds me of John Denver. He was all there, Colorado and
yep, that's
Rocky
right.
Mountains, all that stuff. Yeah, that was part of my childhood.
Definitely, and definitely part of my childhood as well. So, yeah,
so right, we've got that out of the way. I'm sure everyone says that. So, let's talk. So, do you work from home?
I do work from home.
Yeah, lovely. And do you have an office, or do you work from places around the house?
I do have an office, which is a converted bedroom. So I just took it over, and we've just repainted and reorganized it, and it's a really lovely room.
Oh, that sounds good. I have a lovely office, and I keep finding myself working everywhere else in the house but the office. So I think I've developed some sort of aversion to feeling like I'm doing work when I'm in the office. So I obviously just swan around pretending I'm not working. So your focus with the sorts of people that you work with comes, I think, from your own experience, as it sometimes does for us. So tell us a bit about how you got to where you are in terms of why you do what you do.
Well, the impetus to start a coaching business kind of started in 2015 when I was diagnosed with ovarian cancer. And as I was going through treatment and for a period of time afterward, I realized that my perspective on life was changing, and that I was no longer enamored of the corporate job that I had, and that I wanted to do something that fed my soul and felt like I was giving back and doing something that was more purposeful. And so I've always been a self-development junkie, and I read a book by Martha Beck in 2018 that changed everything for me. And actually it was 2018. And so I went through her coaching program, and my life has done a 180. I recently retired from my corporate job in April, and my goal is to help as many women as I possibly can overcome the fear and the false beliefs that we all have about getting through difficult situations. In 2009, I quit drinking, and so that's another element of my story that I use. My experience is the best teacher, right? And so I use that as a example that you can do hard things.
And is this with people or women generally, regardless of their sort of work situation, or is it corporate people who run their own businesses? No, is there any of that?
Women in general. And I find that working with women that are over 50, they have just a different set of circumstances generally. They're getting older. They're worried that they've kind of missed the boat. They're afraid it's too late to start something new and that sort of thing. But I have a lot of clients that are under 50 as well. So, but I work with, I haven't done any corporate work per se.
It's interesting as well. I think through my sort of experience as a consultant and coach over the last sort of 13 years, people within organisations and, so people with corporate jobs, quite often their development comes from what's sort of provided within their organisation, and they don't always look outside of that. And I was exactly the same. When I worked in corporate for, I don't know what it was, 18 years or so, I worked for big companies, and the development I had was driven by what was available within the organisation. I did read, business books maybe not business books, development books outside of that, but certainly not in the way that I do now, without that sort of corporate, I don't know if it's protection or gatekeeping or whatever. I don't know. Was that your experience in corporate?
Well, it was. I worked for a wonderful company who was pretty forward thinking, fortunately, and their mission statement was to work from a place of authenticity and understanding that the thoughts that you have drive everything. So if you are having negative thoughts, it's going to have a negative impact. And if you think positively and collaboratively, then you're going to have a better experience. And so in that regard, the corporate environment that I was in was really quite wonderful. It was just the day-to-day work that didn't provide a sense of fulfillment for me.
So talk a little bit about your transition from corporate employee to business owner, because quite a lot of people do take that route, particularly sort of a bit later on in their career. How did that, obviously you had a catalyst for doing that, but how did you approach that, and what tips have you got for people who are making that transition?
Well, I've done it before. I had been in the oil and gas industry, which is the industry that I just left, prior to 1996, when I was laid off and was able to be retrained in a new industry. So I went to interior design school, and I was a kitchen and bath designer for quite a few years in a support role at first, and then I started my own business there. And it's the transition for me, I've always had an entrepreneurial streak running through me, and I've worked for other people as a necessity and not necessarily as a desire.
Yeah.
And I've always wanted to work for myself. And so for me, the transition comes with knowing that I can do anything that I set my mind to, and being able to ask for help. And in that regard, I mean, talking to people who have done it before and can tell me, give me some resources, tell me, where I can find things, or give me some mentorship, that sort of thing. And it's, being able to allow yourself to be vulnerable and ask for help when you need it, I find is really critical. And especially when you're working by yourself and for yourself, you've lost your collaboration training wheels, sort of thing. Your support system that you used to work with. You used to have people down the hall from you that you could go and say, how do I take care of this, or what's the best way to go about that? And now you don't have that unless you utilize some mentorship and create your tribe and open yourself up to learn.
Yeah.
You're learning things from a whole different perspective all over again, and it's a challenge.
It's interesting. I did a survey at the beginning of the year of home-based coaches and consultants, and one of all the top things that came out as being a problem with working from home was around isolation and lack of people, as you say, to sort of bounce ideas off, to ask questions of, and so on. So that was consistent with what you said, and I think sometimes the difficulties around not wanting to show that vulnerability that you mentioned, that there seem to be all these sort of successful people around you, and if you said, I don't actually know how to do that, or I haven't got any clients yet, or I've had one client but I've not got a steady pipeline or whatever. When I just think about like local networking environments here, from when I sort of first started, a lot of people turn up, and it's a bit like social media now. I started a business 15 years ago, and then it was just like it is now on social media. Everyone's sort of selling the best life. You go there and you think everybody's really successful, everyone's working and getting loads of money, or whatever it is you sort of perceive. Of course, the reality being they wouldn't be at all the networking events if they were working with clients all the time. So
exactly.
there's a certain issue with that. But it is quite difficult to ask for help, as you say, and admit that you're not where you want to be yet, for a lot of people, isn't it?
Right. And I think you just touched on something that I found to be really true. It's very powerful, is that they wouldn't be there unless they needed to get new business. But at the same time,
that's my local train, if you heard that. Sorry. I've got the window shut and everything. It's a little steam train at the bottom of the hill. It goes, woo!
Fabulous. But a lot of these women, and a lot of the women that I network with are there to help other women and to give back. And so while they're also looking to build their business, they're also there to help other women, which is very important for me. If I'm in a network with a group, I want to make sure that I'm working with women who are willing to lend a hand. And then I do that myself. If we all remember that we're human beings and we're here to create love and joy in the world, then we're not in a bubble just looking out for ourselves. We have to share our knowledge and offer encouragement and, be a nice person.
Yeah.
And so if I find that I'm entering a room of women who are there with the only purpose to be building their pipeline, then I'm going to turn around and walk out the door.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, and it's a really important thing for me to remember.
So on that sort of, helping and supporting other people and, the work that you do where you're specializing in helping people who've gone through life-changing sort of situations, how important do you think it is for you to have been through that yourself? And I'm sort of asking that because I read a newsletter from someone the other day who is a sort of nutritionist, and she had gone to have a scan, which I think must have been quite a serious potential issue, which hasn't turned out to be the case. But she was reflecting that actually, having been through the process, she realized that in all the years where she's been trying to help people in similar situations, and she's gone looking for the right nutrition and the right things that they should eat and the supplements and all this sort of stuff, and it has given them the advice. What she realized going through the process herself was actually she really wanted somebody to sort of listen and support, and not necessarily come up with all these activities and solutions, which ironically is a bit of a sort of stereotypical male response, isn't it? But I thought that was a really interesting observation, that until she'd actually been in that position herself, she wanted to fix everybody, and now she realizes that actually people don't always want to be fixed. They just want you to be their support and everything else. So just with that as the sort of background, what are your thoughts on the fact that you've been in these life-changing situations yourself, and now that's what you want to, the people you want to work with?
Well, I think it's critical for me anyway to have been through and worked through some adversity in order to help other people. That being said, I don't think I need to have had a heart attack in order to help someone who has. I think, specifics don't really matter. It's the getting through the challenge, the traumatic event, a diagnosis or something like that has enabled me to really want to learn more about how we process things. And my brand of coaching is to hold space for my client and let them discover what it is that is going to help them heal. I don't offer solutions. I don't try to fix anyone. I hold space, and through inquiry, then we peel back the layers, and they find their answers. Martha Beck says it best. I'm not going to tell you anything about you that you don't already know deep down. But it's going to take some inquiry to find it, and I'll help you get there. And that's my my belief.
Yes, yeah. So just sort of tacked on to that, another intrigue at this end is in your bio, you talk about spending lots of time working with horses, and you're training to become a certified, I can't even pronounce the next word, Equus, is it? Equus Coach, through the Coel Institute. Tell us more about that, because it's fascinating. I rode when I was young, and I've sort of kept an ear and eye out for stories about horses sort of since, and I hear a lot about how horses have, I don't know, that sort of sixth sense. And one of my friends coaches people who are petrified of horses and horse riding, because she was and got over it, and she's a coach separately and then does this work with the horse side of things as well. So these things sort of touch what I do on and off, and I've been quite intrigued over the years. So tell us more about what this is and why it's something that you're doing.
Well, I started out as a participant, and a few years ago I bought a coaching session with an Equus coach in New Mexico, and I had never spent much time around horses. I always loved horses, but I rode, maybe 4 times in my life, and never, didn't spend any time with horses. So, but I was really intrigued by the process. So I did that, and that started my my spark. And then a friend of mine invited me to join her at a women's Equus retreat in Tucson, I think a year later or 2 years later. And, that was 4 days of spending time with horses. And oh boy, I was just hooked. And the following week I did a workshop with 2 incredible Equus coaches through the program. They were trained through the program that I'm in now. And it was pivotal for me. It was just absolutely pivotal. And I decided that I wanted to add that to my training. And the reason why is because horses are so intuitive, and they mirror what the energy that we're putting out. So, and I just came off a 4-day training last week in California with the horses, and the things I learned about myself were, it just cemented thoughts that I had, and dispelled other thoughts that I had. And it was just, it's magic. It really is. And, so if you show up, and in our program, there's no riding. It's not equine therapy. I'm not trained to go into, like PTSD or anything severely traumatic, but what it does is you're able to get in touch with what your truth is in the presence of a horse, because they mirror back to you what you're putting out. So, for instance, if you go into the round pen with a horse and you pretend that everything is just fine, and life is swell, and you're just happy as hell, and you're not. The horse will let you know that, because the horse will essentially turn his back or her back on you and won't interact. And it really won't be until you get real and authentic and honest that you'll have a favorable response from the horse. Usually, if you're standing at the edge of the round pen talking to your coach and you get honest, pretty soon here comes the horse wandering over to stand right next to you. And it's an amazing process. And you can tell things to the horse that you want to tell someone in your life, and you do that so that you can at least voice it to another being, and that changes your perspective and your ability and gives you confidence, and it's it's just truly amazing. I am so excited to start utilizing this, and I'm just I'm over the moon with it.
It sounds so interesting. I'm going to go and check out the Institute and watch some of the videos as well. It does sound.
Yeah. And Coelle is just an amazing woman, and she has processed so much in her life, and she's truly a horse whisperer. She's amazing.
Yeah, because we don't talk about people being whisperers for other animals very often, do we? It's probably a phrase that's used, but that is where it was coined and sits, really, isn't it? The horse whisperer bit. Yeah. So what do sort of days look like for you in terms of how you work and how you get stuff done and how you organise yourself?
Well, that's a good question, because every day is a little different, which is the beauty of working for yourself. You don't have to stick to a schedule, but I try to do, kind of administrative stuff in the morning, answer emails and double check my schedule and so on and so forth. And then the afternoon, I try to do client meetings and, networking, that sort of thing. So I attend a lot of workshops, trying to learn as much about the business side of being an entrepreneur. And so I do, I attend that sort of thing. And I'm just, trying to build my business one day at a time. And there's a little bit of, social media stuff. I have someone helping me with that. And, it's just, it's fun. I really love it. None of it feels like work to me. All of it feels like fun, and, that I'm doing it for myself. I'm doing it to make my life better.
And not everyone can say that, so well done you.
Thank you.
What about tools and apps and sort of ways of working with other people do you use?
Well, my favorite tool for meeting with clients is Zoom. It's like the GoToMeeting that we're using here. Just a different platform, I guess, different option. Yeah. And I like that because I can see my clients. It feels like we're sitting across the table from one another. And I can work from anywhere with that. And that's one of the things that is really important to me, because I want to be able to, travel and still conduct business. And, so I want to have things that will help me stay mobile and that sort of thing. I use Acuity scheduling to schedule all my appointments, and that processes payments, and it's been flawless so far. And I use Smarter Q for all of my social media postings. We can put things in there and just queue them up, and they'll post without me having to do a lot of monitoring. So that's nice.
Yes, yeah, that's good. Thank you. And what about, you said you worked with an assistant?
Well, I'm working with a business manager right now for until January, I think. She's just amazing and has helped me greatly with my website and with my social media stuff. And
technical term.
Very, very technical term. And I wouldn't be able to do any of that with nearly as much ease.
Yes.
And what's the word I'm looking for? Catastrophe. Catastrophe comes to mind if I was attempting to do all of what she's doing for me. If I was trying to do
the opposite of that is.
Yeah. So she's been a huge help, and I'll have to take over at some point, but right now, today, I'm in good hands.
And is that something that you made a conscious decision to invest in early on, so that you could get that stuff set up to then take it on? Because a lot of people try and do it all themselves, and it takes 3 times as long, and as you say, is perhaps not quite so professional at the end of the day as well. But
Right.
People try and sort of cut corners, I guess, at the beginning to keep the costs down.
Exactly. And I tried to do that. I really did. And what I found was that when I revamped my website, it turned into a catastrophe, or so I thought anyway. And Jan, my business manager, was able to turn that around in a matter of days for me, as a huge favor. And then she said, well, I could do this, this, and this. And it just feels like it was the best option for me, because what I found was I could sit and work for hours upon hours upon hours and just get stressed and, sitting here in a pile of tears because I couldn't figure it out, because I was making it to be a bigger issue than it needed to be. And so what has helped me is by having Jan take care of those things for me, I'm able to concentrate on the things that I need to do, that only I can do. And that's what's important for me is knowing when to delegate and knowing what's a good investment for my business. And that has been a very good investment for my business.
Yeah. And, you said, everything's fun. I really enjoy everything that I do. So clearly, you've sort of divvied that up in that way really well, because that's motivating you, because you are only doing the things that, as you say, only you can do, and that you want to do, which is, what I talk about all the time in Power to Live More. And we will come back to that in a moment. So before that, what about those days when it all goes wrong, all goes horribly wrong? What do you do when you have those catastrophes? How do you deal with it?
Well, I cry. I cry.
Yeah,
And
good
then
start. Get rid of that emotion. Yeah.
and then I try, I try like hell to do some self-coaching, and if that doesn't work, then I reach out to my coach. And I probably should do it in the reverse order. I should reach out to my coach and then do some self-coaching, and then if I still need to cry, then I can. But old habits die hard, and while I love to ask for help, sometimes I think that I should know how to do things myself, and that's not always the case. So
Yeah.
when things turn to hell, it's because I'm taking too much control and not asking for help.
Mm. And it's good to know that. It doesn't always mean that you follow it, does it? But it's good to
hell no. No, it doesn't mean that I always follow it, but I do try, and I'm becoming much more aware of when I need to just, surrender and ask for help.
Yes, yeah. So coming back to that living more bit, which is where I talk about getting to do more of the things that you want to do and less of the things that you feel you should do or you have to do. What does that day look like when you can live more? What has that day been like for you?
Oh gosh, that's a really, that's a good question, and it's a hard question for me because since I do love all aspects of my business, it's kind of hard to separate the work from the play work. And if I'm going to just play, I would choose to play with horses. Go hang out. I've got a neighbor that has 3 horses, and they're my buddies, and I go hang out with them, and hopefully they'll be my co-facilitators when I start coaching, doing my Equus coaching. But
I bet they don't charge you much either, do they?
Well, they're pretty inexpensive. They're really, they just come on in and give a pet, and you might brush me, that'd be nice, and that sort of thing. So anyway, that's my ideal day, is spending time with horses, spending time with my husband and our 2 little dogs that are adorable, but they're new for us, and so they're we're all learning about each other, and it's just about doing the things that bring me joy, and the older I get, the more simple that becomes. The things that bring me joy are simpler, which is so nice. And just sitting on my patio with a cup of coffee brings me so much joy. And spending time with really good friends and with my tribe mates, who are all on the same page that I'm on. And it's just, my life is just, it's really quite wonderful, and I love it.
Excellent. And it's a lovely,
that doesn't mean
to finish on. Oh yes, God, that doesn't mean
that doesn't mean that it's a cakewalk, but and that I definitely am not one of those business owners who have it all going on, and or at least pretend that I do.
But I think it's a much stronger message, which is that whatever's going on, I find the joy in those moments.
Exactly.
And I think that's the stronger message. So thank you, Nancy. That was great. So tell people how they can find out more about you and connect with you.
Well, my website is www.amazingoutlookcoaching.com, and my email is nancy@amazingoutlookcoaching.com, and I'm on Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter and Instagram and all those places. So I'd love to hear from you all.
Brilliant. Thanks, Nancy.
Thank you, Joe.
All this information is available in the show notes. If you go to powertolivemore.com/, in this case, 134, then you'll find them there. And this week, it's just a quick one from me. I've had a rather busy couple of weeks. I've been working with one of my clients doing some customer service training for a large supermarket company in the UK. In case you don't already know, there are two sides to my business. I work in a consultancy role with corporates, and this is the work that I'm talking about today, as well as running Power to Live More Calm, which is an online resource for home-based coaches and consultants. So I've been away from home for 10 days. I've had a rather lush Airbnb, and so it's been a bit like being on holiday, but also working. But good to get out and do some client work. I really do like training and coaching and working within a large organisation, particularly a supermarket, because I started my career in Safeway back in the day 30 years ago, training cashiers in various things, including customer service. So it's been a real trip down memory lane working on this project. And the team that I've been working with in the store have just been amazing. They are really engaged and really open to the change and to the improvement in customer service that we were hoping to achieve with the new checkouts, and it's all going swimmingly, so it's been great. And I just want to reflect really on one of the things that I talk about in Power to Live More, and that's about being really clear about what you want in your life and your business, and then aligning everything that you do to that. And many people do think I have quite a random business in that I end up doing things that they don't expect of me. So I was talking to a business friend on WhatsApp yesterday, and she asked me what I was doing. So I said, she was like, right, okay, that sounds about right for you. Another sort of string to your bow, as it were. And obviously it's something that I've had experience in from years ago, and something that I can easily do, but not something she was expecting that I'd be doing. But the beauty of having your own business, of course, is that you can choose what you want to do and who you want to work with. And as I say, I think as soon as you get really clear about what you really enjoy and how you want to work and what you want to do, and then make sure that your work follows accordingly, then your business really becomes such a lovely place to be, if you like. So I've had 10 days of training, as I say, in a big supermarket organisation. I've still been working with Engage for Success, doing some of the behind the scenes operational stuff that I do with them, as well as some work around an event that we're running at the end of next week to thank our volunteers. I've been maintaining some of my own business stuff, albeit a bit less than normal on the basis that I've had less time to do that. But I've also, as I said, had the opportunity to stay in a really nice place, get good sleep, eat really well, and really sort of relax at the same time as working, because I've just been in a different environment. So certainly ticking all the boxes in terms of my Power to Live More, and I'm very much looking forward to getting back home tomorrow and seeing the family and getting ready, getting our Christmas tree and all that sort of thing ready for the next few weeks leading up to the end of the year. So just wanted to reflect a bit on that whole piece about simplifying, thinking about what you want, aligning your life and your business to what you want so that you can actually get to live more. And as you know, I say that's get to do more of the things that you want to do and less of the things that you feel you should do or you have to do. If any of this stuff's of interest to you and you're wanting to work on this for yourself, you might be interested in having a chat with me about my membership site, Power to Live More Calm, which, amongst other things, has got some courses around getting clear on your values, priorities and intentions for your business and your life, as well as how to learn how to say no, as well as how to plan for your best next 12 months. Alongside that, we've got all the materials and the information that's available so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. And the bit that's working particularly well at the moment is our weekly calls, where we're really talking about accountability and keeping each other on the straight and narrow, as it were, in terms of what we're intending doing each week, and therefore getting done as a result of the accountability. So if you're interested in finding out more, then please do go to powertolivemore.com/getcalm. And just to let you know that the introductory offer, which is much reduced for beta members, is open only through till the end of the year, and then the pricing will go to the usual pricing of £97 a month or $997 a year. So if you're interested in having a look at it, having a chat about it, then please do get in touch as soon as you can, because, as I say, the pricing is particularly good for the next few weeks. Again, the show notes are at powertolivemore.com/134, and we look forward to speaking to you next week.
Use your power to live more.